What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week. Sure do. It's been a little while. Actually, it hasn't. We did The Stack over the holidays. Come on, Pete.
Come on.
Come on. You know what's going on. Let's kick it off with a big one. Aquaman #1 from DC Comics, The King of the Seas, is back. Written by Jeremy Adams. Art by John Timms. This is actually Aquaman's first solo title in years at this point.
Yes.
And in this, he is back as the King of Atlantis. He has his wife. He's got his kid. He's part of the Justice League.
He's still under the sea. He loves to be under the sea.
He's got it all going on. But spoiler here, by the end of the issue, he's got none of that. It's all gone, which I'll tell you what was maybe my favorite part of the issue. Setting up this whole status quo just to completely break it by the end. I thought that was a really fun decision that got me very excited for the next month.
I agree with you. I like this book goes out of its way to sort of show out on all of Aquaman continuity, which is heavy. There's a lot of added characters over the years. And I think some of my favorite Aquaman stories are where he is outside of that, or like he has a hook for a hand, or they've somehow fundamentally moved him out of normalcy, his normal status quo, and have given him something more interesting to do, because I think he's a much better character out as a fish out of water.
I see what you did there.
And I think I mean that.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to say I let normalcy go by, and you should be very proud of me for that.
You know what? We don't talk about how proud we are of each other, and let me say, I don't know what threat you would have or you're dropping on me here, like what you would have done.
Normal C.
Yes, no, we get it.
No, you just ruined it. You ruined it.
I will say, Alex, my pride has faded since you did that. Now I'm disappointed.
I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
But in the art, very fantastic in this book.
Okay. Yeah, I get.
Take turns.
Yeah, you're right. The art is fantastic.
Always all of our turns to talk. If you have ever listened
I'm
to
sure
the
audience appreciates it when we all talk at once. And
I agree.
I'm one of the worst at that. Anyways, so Whitey's back. I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman, so I was a little.
Who is not a character in the comics, but go ahead.
Well, he made some appearances in the comics.
Wait.
So you're saying Aquaman movie special?
Yeah, no, Aquaman has never been. You're saying you like Jason Momoa specifically, and it bothers you that we have the Aquaman from comics in comics.
Well, I hope we were going the Momoa way. I thought we were leaning a little towards that a little bit. But
what made you think that? The absolute failure of the second Aquaman movie?
Oh, God damn it! It hurts. It stings still.
Does it sting?
Yeah, it stings.
Like a stingray.
Oh, boy. No, like a jellyfish.
Under the sea.
So, yes, this is not a movie. This is a comic book. Go ahead.
Thank you. So I had my secret agenda, the Momoa agenda, and it didn't come true. But I love giant pearls, so this is fun. Cool twist at the end. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. Aquaman, I like him as a character, and so this should be interesting.
One other thing I'll say, and this is a big spoiler for the end here, so if you don't want to know, turn away, but Aquaman heads somewhere else. Batman and Wonder Woman are with him under the sea, and they see the thing that he has gone through has turned into a gigantic Omega symbol, indicating that Darkseid is involved in some way. I know this is how our brains are wired as comic book fans anyway, but I really like how DC seems to be pushing hard on the this is important part of the brain, particularly for titles that I would probably read anyway, as I like to read a diverse amount of different things. But you have Challengers of the Unknown, a title that you could very much see people being like, I love that title. Why was it canceled after 4 issues? Or you have, I'm forgetting the other one that was front and center. Oh, the Atom Project as well. Same sort of thing. It's like, I love all the atoms. That also is one that you could see primed to get canceled after 4 issues. Same thing here. Aquaman is definitely the most maligned of the big 7 of the Justice League. So taking these titles and giving them that secret sauce of like, you have to be reading this if you want to understand what's going on with this big story is so smart to hook something on an already good comic.
Well, and I would also say they the all-in event is built around Darkseid, and then so many of the other books, both the absolutes and the main titles, are running away from all of that. And then we're getting the actual drive forward, like you're saying, Alex, in these other books, and that feels like a little surprise or secret that we as readers who read everything are like, yes, ooh, good, I want to follow this. If Aquaman went through that gate and is now in absolute universe, that feels like maybe a stretch, but like could be, or somehow like is in another place, like that's exciting, and they got me with the end of this issue.
It's interesting that you said when you saw the Omega symbol, you thought of Darkseid. I was thinking, oh, maybe Aquaman's going to start an underwater fraternity. So, yeah, that's where my brain went.
By the way, how's your script doing for Underwater Fraternity?
Man, running into a lot of problems with drinking underwater, you know?
Oh, yeah. The beer keeps floating up.
Yeah, it's tough.
Can't play beer pong, bros. Everything's water.
Yeah, it's tough.
Your punch-ups are very good.
All the beer's getting diluted in the sea.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Okay, why don't we move on and talk about Magik, #1 from Marvel, written by Ashley Allen, art by Germán Peralta. This is spinning directly out of the main adjectiveless X-Men title. Magik is going on her own solo mission, mixing it up with some demonic entities as she is wont to do. People are pretty hyped for this. I have seen online, this being Magik's first ongoing solo title. I know she's had miniseries before, but I think this is her first ongoing. Pete, you seem pretty psyched for it. Why is that?
I like Ileana. I think she's a great character. And in this issue, you know,
Ileana Douglas, right?
Yo, that was in my brain, and I was like, don't say that. And you did it. Shouts.
Don't say that.
2 for 2. I'm 2 for 2.
I would say you're over. But yeah, I just think she's a great character, and this, you know, she's dealing with a lot, which is cool. And yeah, I'll be interested to see how this kind of unravels, if you will. But tough start, man. She killed that kid's grandma, it seemed like, in this issue. So that's a rough one to bounce back from.
And we all know that Pete hates to see a good grandma go down.
Yeah, that's rough.
You know,
but she's just going to show up at the X Mansion being like, hey, listen, I killed this person's grandma, so we got to raise this kid. So I'm sure it'll be cool.
Shouts to Germán Peralta's art. Really enjoyed it in this. Moody in the right ways for Magik, a character that is always straddling the sort of darkness of the limbo side and the magic side of her life, and the sort of brightness of the X-Men super team. And this comic is able to dip us into a magical realm that is different from Limbo, but nice, and feels like a departure from so much of the main X-Men continuity in a great way. And the characters we're meeting are interesting, and I really like them. So I was very pleasantly surprised by this book.
Yeah, just to back up that part of it, because I was expecting we're going to get Belasco, we're going to get Darkchild,
exactly.
We're going to get Limbo, and we do touch on that, but this is giving us something new and fresh and interesting.
You got to wait for it.
Creatively fresh. Love that.
Creatively fresh. Next up, The Lucky Devils, #1 from Image Comics, written by Charles Soule, art by Ryan Browne. We just had the both on our live show, and we talked to them about this.
But we didn't.
If only we might. If only we could have.
So yes, listen to the live show. We had an extensive conversation with them about this book that is about 2 low-level devils who decide to shake up the status quo in hell by revealing themselves to the people they are the devils on the shoulder for, and they have some plans. They got some moves. We talked about our opinions on both this and the second issue on the live show, but they're gone now. Charles.
We can really talk about it.
Yeah, I really like this. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, they're an amazing team together, and this is a really cool first issue. Fantastic cover, which gets me hype. But I was, excited because these 2 devils are in a relation. And so they're working the humans, and, I believe in love. So even in hell, maybe we got a sweet love story underneath all of this. But, yeah, I'm super excited for the premise of this and how this is all going to unfold. We know it's a 9-issue series, and I can't wait for this ride. It seems like it's going to be a blast.
Pete really trying to force this to be a rom-com.
Come on, man.
I just don't know if it is, my man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. I mentioned this on our live show, and we talked about it a bit, but just a great turn in the middle of this book that really surprised me, and it makes the book, I think. So definitely one to, this team is just great at setting up a premise, making it, showing how much they've thought about it and prepared it for story, much more than you'd think. And then Ryan's art is just fun and sets a great tone that is so approachable. So it's a great combo.
I also love the beer bit, that you get when they're throwing beers from the roof. It's a small little bit, but it's fun.
Ryan was talking about this a little bit on the show, how he colored his own work here, and I think he's done that before, but it really feels like he's leveled up in a big way with this book. The art just shows a true progression of his style. Like you guys said, it's fun, it's funny, there's some good philosophical implications, and I will say I liked it even better in the second issue that's not coming out for a month, but they really felt like they were of a piece to me.
Double down.
So if you read this and were intrigued, there's definitely more good stuff to come. Next up, another number one, Those Not Afraid number one from Dark Horse Comics, written by Kyle Starks, art by Patrick Piazzalunga. This is another serial killer title from Kyle Starks. Dude loves serial killers. We'll get to one of the other ones later on in the stack. Yes?
Now, Pete, let me ask you, this book is for those who are not afraid. Did that help you to approach this book? Because you
no, this was an actual fucking nightmare situation. I had a real tough time with this book.
Can I just mention what the concept of the book is before we get into your deepest, darkest fears? Yeah. So this is, we start off with a true crime podcaster who's talking about a local serial killer legend who killed a ton of people back in the day. Turns out one of the currently operating serial killers, who is not that serial killer, listens to her podcast, tracks down a second serial killer in the area, and sets up a little friendly competition to see who can break that serial killer record first. I thought this was very dark, very twisty, very smartly done, and it reminded me, without feeling derivative, of the serial killer convention arc from Sandman. Maybe that's a little bit of the designs, but definitely felt like there was a bit of inspiration taken from there.
Yeah, that feels like the art is reflecting that,
yes,
perhaps, as well as the concept. I think this book really shows the power of podcasts to really inspire people.
Jesus
Christ.
If
we had, let me talk about my dreams for a second. If we could inspire not one but two serial killers, man. What a dream.
That's a horrible idea.
To
let's
do
inspire
what?
people to inspire people to make comic
heroes.
books.
Now I heard they read 38 comics in a week. Why, we could break that record by killing 38 comic book writers.
Oh my God! Please don't give them ideas. This is
so many serial killers on the edge listening to us right now.
And a lot of serial killers are like, plumb out of ideas.
Yeah.
What do I do?
This is
serial
really
killers famously they're dying for a reason to kill.
This is really fucked up and dark, and it felt to me like the first time I watched the first couple episodes of Dexter, where I was like, what are we doing? Like, how am I pulling for the bad guy here? You know what I mean? Like, why are we
And then you start to
glorifying-
feel the rom-com of him being in love with his sister, right? And you were like, I'm all in.
I love this.
Well, just because two people are dating in real life and then playing brother-sister on a show doesn't mean that someone loves their sister.
Pete, are you a Dexter fan? I feel like Dexter's the show.
I
the fact that you know that.
I was so mad at Dexter. Like, I watched all of it, all the seasons.
How did you watch it? That is like a show you would not watch.
I watched it through my fingers. I was just like, this is awful. This is crazy. But I was hooked. And I was just so mad at him at the end. I was so mad. Like, I was like, if I run into this actor on the street, I'm going to fucking yell at him.
Yeah, good. The person who is not in charge of the story at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, did you watch Dexter Original Sin?
No, I'm never going back to that. It made me so angry.
Very
I'll never
popular
do it again.
program. Very popular show.
Yeah, but this it does have impressive twists and turns in this. Like that last panel, oh shit moment really is an oh shit moment. So That's
Agreed.
impressive.
Fun.
Yeah.
Next up, Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum #1 from DC Comics, written by Jeremy Adams, art by V. Ken Marion. I will mention that there are a couple of DC titles in the stack here that, due to shipping delays, are coming out next week. This is one of them, so let's tread carefully in terms of spoilers. They may be coming out digitally or maybe not, but most comic book shops will be getting them next week. Regardless, this is a kickoff of the next big Green Lantern storyline. But the thing that I think was very nice about this is, rather than shaking up the status quo in a big way, it's resetting the table in a very pleasant way, where we're getting to check in with the characters, we're getting to check in with Oa and the Green Lantern Corps. There's a neat, interesting new enemy that shows up here. I like this issue quite a bit.
You know, it's tough. The Spectrum, when that was added to the Green Lantern universe by Jeff Johns, it sort of has been an unavoidable part of the continuity for a year since it was created. So much of the Green Lantern stories are all about the other emotions in the spectrum. And I think this is now trying to be like, you know what? Let's fracture that. Let's try to change that a little bit, because we've told a lot of stories in that world. And I appreciate that move. I think it's time for a change, and this book very comfortably, like you're saying, Alex, moves us into a new idea, which is welcome and exciting. And it's rare when a creator is able to take such care to do that, and this book really does it.
This is try not to spoil here, but this is an interesting, cool idea, great art and action. It seems like the book hates librarians big time, but other than that, I'm super excited.
Yeah,
all right.
Finally, revenge on those bookmongers.
What do they do? What do they want with all the books? You know?
Yeah, what are they doing with those books
What are
at
they doing
night?
with them? Nobody knows.
They're organizing them so people can have easy access and be able to find them when they need. They're fucking doing great work, bro.
Why does my book have to be a number? I want my book to just be itself.
Who is this?
Well, how are you going to find it?
Nobody knows who Dewey is. Explain that to me. New Champions #1 from Marvel. Written by Steve Foxe. Art by Ivan Fiorelli and Ig Guara. Though this is a new title, it is spinning off of not just a series of New Champions variant covers that debuted, I believe, last year on Marvel Comics, but also some of these characters appearing, well, in various books, but mostly in Spider-Woman, which was also written by Steve Foxe, where they were introduced as villains. Now they are heroes, and they're with their families and hanging out. What did you guys think about this one?
This book escalated so much over the course of this first issue, where I was like, New Champions. Okay, that's cool. What's the take here? What's going to happen with them? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's some more. Oh my God, there's more. Oh, I recognize some of them. Oh my God, there's more. This is too many. I'm overwhelmed by champions. This is too many new champions. But this book reminded me of, you guys remember the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 80s?
Oh my God, the Choose Your Old Adventure ones?
Where the kids get sucked into the world and their whole thing is trying to get home. I hope that's what this
like
story
Skeleton
is.
Crew?
They've all, yes, a popular program in the Star Wars universe.
Yep.
You're talking about.
Yeah, because they're a bunch of kids trying to get home.
Okay. I hope that's what this is, that this team has been put into this place and they have to try to find their way back to their friends and family.
Yeah, I thought this was adorable and cool, and I thought it had a fun lightness to it that the art reflected really well. I thought this was an interesting story and a good first ish.
I thought this was all right. Not to take a opposite take, but there's a lot of continuity stuff going on.
Too many champions for you?
Not necessarily too many champions, but not enough focus on it. We read some of the issues of Spider-Woman, but not all of them. This feels like just another issue of that. And if you're going to hit me with a new #1 with the new champions, I do want, like you said, Justin, a take there. I want something the teen books that I'm drawn to are like Runaways. It has that banger of a first issue, and obviously that's like the gold standard, but I kept waiting for like, okay, what is the take? What is the twist here? Who are these people? Why do I care about them? Same thing, I'll throw out like Avengers Arena is another big teen take, or there was another title that I was thinking of, but like, if you're gonna... Young Avengers was the other one that I was thinking of. Same sort of thing. Where it's like, okay, what's going on with this? They're heroes. They've already got a status quo. It gets shaken up a little bit, but there's not enough to draw me in as a person who does not care about these people yet.
Well, it felt like half of the premise. I bet in the end of the second issue, it'll be like, here is the status quo. But we get halfway there and get sort of a big splash page that's meant to be like, this is pretty crazy, right? And then we'll get what's happening, I think.
There's also, and not to pick on this book too much, but a weird structural choice that they make here, which the second half of the issue is that setup origin of the team, where we get their backstory and find out about them, and they introduce themselves as champions. So I don't know why.
It's like a manga. You got to read the back one first, and then the second.
Oh, okay. That's my bad. That's my bad. All right. Why don't we talk about Transformers number 16 from Skybound and Image Comics, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Jorge Corona. In this issue, two huge Transformers are fighting, and smaller Transformers are trying to get out of the way.
And even smaller humans are trying to get out of the way even harder.
Yeah.
And then there's also some Transformers in space that are trying to find other Transformers.
This is just a fun-ass nostalgia bath of greatness here. Fun cover. You got Devastator, fighting Omega Supreme. So this is just like... I couldn't believe it. And then we got Blue Streak and Cliff Jumper, and I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. There's Constructicons. I mean, this is just, and I even had that train that does the three, which was at the time like, what? This transforms into three things? Oh my God.
A triple changer.
Yeah, the triple changer. That's right, Alex.
Yes,
that's right.
That was somewhere in the recesses of my memory. I say this not negatively at all. I wish I was having the same experience with this title that you are, Pete. Like, I legitimately do. It's sad to me that I'm not.
Yeah, I wish I was too, because I think the last few issues of this comic have been spinning their many, many wheels. I just feel like we're getting so many of all of these Transformers either getting bigger or slightly smaller, and the humans are like, what's happening? And the Transformers like, we don't know either, help. And like, I need a little bit of organizing principle, I think, and maybe what happens on the last page is going to be part of that.
Yeah, could be.
But like, I think I'm ready for this to land fully and then move in a strong choice direction.
I mean, you guys know who the last page is, you know what I mean?
Yes. No, okay. I know who's on the last page. I also do think the overarching plot of clearly Optimus Prime is being corrupted by Megatron's cannon, that's interesting from an emotional perspective.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy to see,
And that's been building slowly in the background, but I agree with you, Justin, that I need more of that strong feeling of the first arc versus what we've gotten for like the past 10 to 12 issues.
The first arc was such a great blend of like big fighting and big emotions. And I feel like we're sort of still in that same emotional state, and I need a chance to reset my brain chemistry to then feel it again as we're going forward.
Yes. Kill All Immortals, number 5 from Dark Horse Comics. Written by what? Oh, no, I'm glad. Like I said, I wish I felt the way you were feeling. That would make... That
like always, we wish we were you, Pete. We wish we were terrified of anything.
I wish I were... No? Okay. All right. I'm holding the amulet and everything, man. Kill All Immortals, number 5 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Zac Kaplan, art by Fico Ossio. This is the last issue of this title. Or is it this mini-series based on the end? Dun, dun, dun. where the title character kill all immortals herself.
Mademoiselle, my name is Dr. Kill.
She's been fighting her family, who are all immortal, and it all comes down to a fight between all of them around the tree that gives them their immortality. How will things go? We find out by the end of the issue. What do you guys think about this, as well as this miniseries?
Well, I think this is really badass and a lot of fun. This continues to be a great story and great art. I felt a little bit like Dr. Seuss, where, I was like, don't kill the trees. Who's going to speak for the trees? You wanted
a Lorax to drop it.
Yeah, I mean, don't just murder trees. We're really doing that, enough of that in real life. I don't need that in my comic books too, but, sometimes you're just sick of dead shit, and the only way to get him to shut up is to, take away something he loves. You know what I mean?
Comics hate trees, Pete. That's why they're made of trees.
Oh, don't start with that.
Pete, you're surrounded by dead trees right now behind you. It's all tree corpses.
Oh, my God.
It's a wall of tree corpses.
No, I mean, they lived their life and they donated to art. I think it's a beautiful thing.
The trees donated? I don't think the trees were asked.
Which of the trees were they
I'm not going to let you ruin this for me.
When the trees died, which ones of them were like, make me into a box for the other ones? A little coffin.
The most generous one said that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you look at you, Pete, you little freak. You're back there taking the tree corpses out of their plastic bags and smelling them and reading them, you little psycho. You're the real serial killer. You're a serial tree killer.
Oh,
trees have pictures of you up inside their trunks as the great enemy.
Fico Ossio's art is so dynamic. We're going to be talking about Black Lightning later on in the stack, which he also drew, and just the action is absolutely killer throughout this book. I will say there's a lot of back and forth in terms of what's going on here.
Chatty book.
But I like the action. I like the tease at the end. I do hope there's more of it because it's a fun concept. It's enjoyable.
Agree.
Next up, Absolute Batman, number 4 from DC Comics. Plot by Scott Snyder and Nick Dragotta. Art written by Scott Snyder. Art by Gabriel Hernandez Walta. This is jumping back in time to give us an Absolute Batman year one, showing how Bruce became so swole,
beefy,
so huge, so
beefy. He beefed up.
And it's a different artist, Gabriel Walta, who you probably know from Vision, among other things. It's a very different tone. I thought this was another fantastic issue of this book, however. What did you guys think?
Yeah, another banger-ish here. I mean, I love this story. Love the art. This is so intense. Last panel reveal is intense. I mean, this is cool as fuck, man. I'm eating it up. Can't wait for the next issue.
Yeah, I love the idea that Batman's first iteration was like sort of shitty.
Yeah.
Sort of like, why am I doing all this weird stuff? So that's really fun. And again, Scott Snyder continuing to just be very thoughtful.
This guy's a great writer.
Great writer, and so thoughtful about like what he's doing and why. And we get to see in this Absolute universe like just everything's so different. We see echoes and reflections of the Batman qualities and character traits that we know and love, but just recontextualized, and his trauma is different. His reaction to the trauma is different. He's just a different person and hero. It's very... There's a great read of this that is just straight superhero fun action, and there's a great like meta-textual read as well that is just super interesting.
But what we haven't gotten into is when you got a Batman this beefy, it's hard to be Bruce. You know what I mean? Because people are going to be like, well, you got to be Batman. I mean, just the size of you is fucking,
Do you think maybe he wears like just vertical stripes to really slim it down?
Oh, it's smart. I didn't even think about that.
I was really struck by the theme that Scott and company are playing with throughout this issue in terms of like Batman almost responding to what people challenge the character with online all the time and in conversations of like, hey man, beating up criminals isn't going to solve the problem. So what happens in this issue is we find him being like, oh, no, it's not. So what do I need to do? How do I need to implement real, actual structural change to get at the base level of the problem that is being caused to attack the people. Because I can beat up all of these criminals, I can get rid of them, I can get rid of crime bosses, but somebody else is going to rise up. What I need to do is actually inspire people and make them better. And how can I do that as Batman? I need to get bigger, I need to be better, I need to be thick.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like you were saying, I think that's just a smart take on it. There's a series of panels where we get to see him talking about what is driving people to anger. And we see a server farm, we see a protest, and we see a gun show. And without being explicit, like overly explicit about it, or overly explanatory is probably a better way, I think getting to see, hey man, this is how this ties into the world that we are experiencing today is a very smart thing to do as well. So great issue of this great book. Next up, Daredevil, Unleash Hell, Red Band #1 from Marvel, written by Erica Schultz, art by Valentina Pinti and Jose Luis. We are following the Elektra Daredevil as she tackles, well, eventually, with a new female muse. And in fact, a lot of the issue is spent with finding out about this new female muse and the origin there that I thought was complimentary, absolutely wild, very impressive. In the first half of the book, I was like, all right, I like Erica Schultz on Daredevil. This is more of that, so good. And then it just takes a turn halfway through that goes in crazy directions that I could not expect.
I'm going to say what Pete will say in 1 second after me, that this is the better Daredevil right now.
I've been saying that for a while, dude.
Yeah, well, I think we both have. This is something where we are in full alignment. I think this book is just continuing that. And, bringing back Muse might feel like, going back to something from the past that we know was popular or interesting. But it's so different. It's so, recontextualized and new that I thought this really worked. This is definitely the Daredevil that I'm excited about reading.
Yeah, since Justin took mine. I just think,
saying we're in agreement.
Yeah. Elektra is the best Daredevil, and this starts out great. I love when Elektra is just judging people. I think that's fun. I also think that it was such a interesting choice for Muse, and I was really impressed by it. Erica has been writing the crap out of stuff, and put Erica in charge of more things. She does great. She has great ideas. So I was really kind of blown away by the Muse of it all. I didn't know Muse was such a popular villain. So, but yeah, it's definitely a twisted and kind of dark villain. So this kind of is very interesting.
And just before we move on, let me be the first person on the podcast to say I think the Elektra Daredevil is the better Daredevil.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I haven't thought about that before.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to really lean into that take and respect it.
Snot Girl, #17 from Image Comics, written by Brian Lee O'Malley, art by Leslie Hung. After an enormous break, this fashion parody came back last issue with one that I think we all felt was great and a new start for this title. We are continuing that here as our titular Snot Girl ends up in a little bit of a tiff with her girlfriend, cool girl Caroline. Meanwhile, Caroline's brother, I believe, is
Virgil,
investigating something crazy. I don't know what's going on there, but I was very worried about that given the cover and given the fact that they went in some weird, potentially sci-fi directions in the previous part of the series. But I even think that felt cleaned up and worked in this issue, so I'm all in on Snot Girl.
The idea of calling this a fashion parody book is really funny now because it's not that anymore. It's like a bunch of characters that are interesting and you really feel what they're feeling. This book, both Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung do a great job of letting us sort of be with Snot Girl and Virgil, even though they're doing very different things throughout the course of this book. This issue. And it's a fun read.
Alex really loves this. I was just reading it and been like, oh, Alex is eating this up. Great art.
Does that make it a pleasurable read for you, or does that make you angry?
Well, it's nice to know somebody's having fun. You know what I mean? where it was like, I'm like, well, this isn't for me, but I'm sure Alex is loving this.
It's interesting, Pete, because you talk so much about being such a rom-com guy. This book has big rom-com energy. I would argue maybe the most rom-com of the books in this stack.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, but I gotta kind of like the people to kind of get involved, and
they're too vapid.
I don't know. I don't like them, so I don't like the world, and But the arts.
You don't like snot.
Well, I'm a big fan of snot. You know what I mean? But so
you like snot too much.
Big fan.
Okay. Big fan of the snot.
Love it. In what capacity?
Oh yeah, name 3 of Snot's albums.
Faith No More. I don't know.
I don't know.
Wow, interesting guess.
Yeah. Christmas 365 #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Mikey Way and Jonathan Rivera, art by Piotr Kowalski. The previous issue, we met a father of a family who had it up to here and decided they're going to celebrate Christmas, not exactly 365, but at least once a month. Which I think our main commentary was being a little confused about the premise. Justin, do you feel like it's any clearer in this issue?
What is this book? This book is wild. I don't know. I mean, I gotta say, I'm intrigued by what's happening, but I'm like, what is this book about? I don't know. It's like just characters making weird choices, but they are. I want to know why, and I want to know what their next weird choice is going to be. The family seems to like each other. But it's not Christmas 365.
It's not Christmas 365, and also I just have a hard time wrapping my mind around this family that poorly celebrates Christmas holidays once a month, becoming a viral sensation and turning their house into a Christmas theme park. It also, I know, Pete, you were like, no, this is straight up a horror title in the first issue, and we were telling you it's not a horror title. I was fully expecting some sort of horror elements to come back this issue, and they 100% do not. This is just basically like Christmas Vacation style broad comedy, and that's
the guy does seem cursed, but he just keeps just bumping his head a little bit. And I'm like, okay.
Knocking his nuts or whatever. Pete, since there is nothing
nuts.
Knocking nuts. That's a Christmas tradition in my house.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. The nuck knocker. I don't know.
Wow.
Beware the nut knocker comes if you've been a bad little boy.
Yeah, I this is insane and over the top ideas crossed with a well-meaning father. You know what I mean? Like this guy at first I thought really lost it, but now he's trying to execute an insane plan. Yeah, I mean, this is fun. I don't know what's happening, but it's kind of just we're watching this father who seems to have had an episode trying to dig his way out of a hole by going harder. Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but it's very interesting and very creative. And I know some people just love Christmas and want Christmas all the time, so I can understand the drive of the idea. But
do you think those people have had their nuts knocked one too many times?
Oh, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
There's over knocking of nuts. You can over knock them. You know what I mean? You got to be careful.
Yeah, I would say
there's never enough knocks for my nuts.
Oh man!
Glad you already had kids. On nuts door.
This is another title that likely isn't coming out until next week on January 15th.
Don't spoil it,
so no spoilers here as well. But Action Comics 1082 from DC Comics, written by John Ridley, art by Inaki Miranda. After the very long Phantoms arc that was coming out weekly, we are back to Superman Superstars, which is out of continuity, I believe, stories from all-star teams. And here we're getting not really Superman, but Clark Kent looking into what went wrong with Major Disaster, a character from, I want to say, the 2000s or 90s or something like that.
Yeah,
probably
like
very
90s.
Wrong there, but what do you guys think about this?
Well, not to spoil it, but crazy ending, great art, interesting story. I'm still enjoying this.
I really like John Ridley as a writer. Like he comes with ideas that I think want to both get underneath the skin of the characters he's writing and maybe unsettle the status quo that the character has. In this case, like you're saying, it's Clark Kent. We get to see Clark on the move, sort of using the Clark Kent persona to do Superman things, which I think is cool. There's so many great conversations here that Clark is having. He's clearly struggling. We don't really get to see Superman struggle with an idea often, and there are great conversations between him and Lois in this. So I really like this exploration. It's something that a type of story we're not getting a lot right now with Superman.
Yeah, it feels like the diametric opposite of the Phantoms thing. So just on a very meta level, I appreciate using Action Comics as a title to explore different modes of Superman when we are getting the big, bombastic main story Superman over in the Superman title. So I don't know that this 100% worked for me. There were a couple of things that didn't scan properly in terms of the character. We all have our own particular takes on Superman and Clark Kent, who they should be. But I did appreciate the audacity of what they're doing here in terms of really dialing down on, our main character.
And when you say scan properly, are you scanning comics and then trying to resell them on the streets?
Yeah, for sure, man. Do you know that Read Comics Online thing? The thing that's just riddled with porn? I put the porn on there.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, I buy the comics, send them to a friend of mine that scans the comics, but I scan the porn and I put it on the site.
And the name you go by when you're doing this is the Porn Riddler, right?
Yeah, the Nut Knocker, actually.
Oh,
beware the Nut Knocker. He puts porn under your bed.
Uncanny X-Men number 8 from Marvel, written by Gail Simone, art by Javier Garrón. This is the end of the Raid on Graymalkin crossover that has pit two X-Men teams against each other and revealed some big secrets about Professor X and some other characters. I do want to get into some spoilers here because I do have some specific thoughts about the things that happened in the book, but I'd love to get your guys' general thoughts on this crossover first.
Well, first off, cool ass cover. Really liked it. You got some amazing splash pages in this. Epic feel to the battle. Just really amazing art. Of course, the Cyclops, getting handled by Rogue, which was nice. I appreciate that. This I thought was enjoyable.
Pete loves the X-Men. I mean, this is a very topical call out here for us, but there's a line that Rogue has here when she's getting dipped and kissed by Gambit where she says, dip. Best for last, like a beignet with extra powdered sugar.
Come on, baby. Everybody's thinking about New Orleans right now. You know what I mean?
Yes, for anybody who doesn't know, we are going down to New Orleans this weekend for Fan Expo. We're going to be doing a show,
baby.
Friday night at Brew Carré, a brewery at 8 p.m. We're going to have some special guests, give away some prizes, and then we're going to be doing a show and some interviews at Fan Expo as well.
Mainly going to be eating food.
Yes, eating food and talking about comics with our mouths full of pork-related products.
Nothing better than powdered sugar for when you're trying to talk to another person.
To talk about this crossover, I like the idea of this. It just feels like we walk away and all the characters are sort of like, well, what a day we had, and not a lot changed. There weren't. This is setting up Charles Xavier on the run, and there's a manhunt for him. But that's not really set up in here at all. The X-Men are just like, well, we're leaving, and the woman in charge of Graymalkin is like, yeah, you better go, and all you can take are the friends you came for. And it's like, oh, what a nice resolution for this very hate-filled fight we had for 3 issues. So I don't know. I guess I wish there were more consequences here. We don't even reveal. There's a big mystery of who is Inmate X. This Inmate
X.
We don't get a reveal of that. I was like, come on, what are you leaving us with here? The artist is good. I like Gail Simone has such a command of the X-Men characters. There are great character moments here, but just from an overall plot, I was like, I wish we had a little bit more happening at the end of this.
Who do you think Inmate X is?
I think it's a character we haven't met before, which gets to one of the main things this struck me reading this issue, is we find out, and this is the big spoilery thing, we find out that Charles Xavier is part of a group called the Avians, who are all bald. So there's him.
Sick.
There's this guy named Scurvy.
So you think it's some bald guy?
Cool
Is what you're
name.
saying?
There's Harvey X, I believe is the name of the kid, who
Yes,
was also
Harvey
bald
X.
and also a psycho mutant. We're told there's 6 of them, and the last of the Avians is inside. So it's yet another bald man who is in there, an Inmate X. Maybe it's the real Professor X, or we're going to get some sort of Professor X clone saga or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is, but like, it felt so 90s externals to me when they were like, there's all these other mutants who are different mutants than the mutants you know.
Yeah, well, I will say Externals, famously like an interesting idea that was just never paid off. Like something that never worked. Like it was just a story that nobody really picked up and ran with that was just laid out there. And this, I agree with you, this feels like that because they're like, that person's the last avian, but I'm like, you said 6 and we know 3? So I'm like, I think there's more. Why are we at the last one? I think we got to hit 4 and 5 before we do that.
And the whole purpose of this crossover seemed to be also riffing off of like the whole schism thing, except now we get Rogue's team and Cyclops' team are really at odds, which is fine, but we were already there. Like, they already kind of didn't want to talk to each other, so I don't know, we didn't need a whole crossover to get there. And the last thing I'll say that I found kind of frustrating, unless I'm misinterpreting this, it felt like there was a push to have you be able to just read Uncanny X-Men or just read X-Men. But the way that they did that was they kept rewinding past the end of the previous issue. So I don't know who was reading this and like, no, I only read Uncanny X-Men, or no, I only read X-Men, and I refuse to read the other half of this 4-part crossover. I appreciate the thought there, but it just doesn't work as a person who is reading all 4 of them, which it should also work at, as well as if you're just reading the individual titles.
I don't know. I think having it be some new person is such a kind of letdown. Like, I feel like it's a build-up. It should be kind of like a fun reveal that we all know.
Who's a bald man in the Marvel Universe who's a mutant?
Who's a mutant? Wong?
Vulture?
Ooh, Longers.
Yeah.
He's not a mutant, but he's bald, right?
We'll do a separate episode counting down
it's
all
Vulture. Everybody be like, boo.
Yeah. We'll do another episode counting down
crazy.
all of the bald members of the Marvel Universe to figure it out. Ultimately, this just didn't work, but for me, I will say, but I'm still looking forward to the X-Manhunt thing. I think that has a chance to be an interesting crossover as well. So we'll see.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I agree with you. Like, I think it worked a little bit more for me because there were just good little moments throughout. Mm-hmm. Like, there's this thing of, like, the mutants that are at Greymalkin that have been, like, converted through shame, essentially, where you have Siren just sort of, like, she's just, you can tell that she's just in pain. Like, it's a very just sad little 2-panel moment that I was like, oh, that's really good. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps me afloat through stuff like this, through events like this.
For sure. Juvenile #2 from Image Comics by Jesus Orlena. This takes place in a world where teenagers are told they're very sick and need to be taken to a facility and given an operation, but it turns out they may actually have psychic powers and aren't being told about it. We find this out through a little bit of a romance between two characters, maybe. I don't think we talked about this part the last time. We had talked about the fixed perspective of the panels. I think I figured out what's going on here. I think this is a storyboard is what's happening. Like, this is very specifically, they're all film width, and I think this dude is drawing this as a storyboard for a movie.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this whole thing feels like it is a little bit derivative. It feels like what's a good YA novel? I'll do sort of the idea of all of them, where there's like people who have secret powers. There's a lot of like sort of posturing, romance. I do like the mixture of word balloons and thought balloons.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
And the art is very nice. Like the character designs are good. You can see it on the cover if you're browsing in the store, but the floating objects, like there's a lightness to it that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff, but it just feels a little bit light on specifics, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before where it's like, an insane asylum or somebody where you're supposed to be taking pills so you can get better, and it's actually the opposite. They're trying to control people and that kind of thing, and it's but the kind of the interesting thing is the relationship stuff for me. So yeah, I mean, great art. Not the most original idea, but at least it's got nuggets of stuff. So yeah, I'm excited to see maybe what's going to be revealed as we go down the line here.
At least it's got nugs, says Pete.
It's got some nugs. Some tasty
Give
nugs.
me some nugs.
Barstow, #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by David Ian McKendry, Rebecca McKendry, art by Tyler Jenkins. In this issue, boy, there's a lot of stuff happening in Barstow.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
You ever been?
I have never been. I think there's a detective who's trying to find out some stuff that's happening, and there's also a blonde dude who's maybe a god who's doing some stuff, and there's a bunch of gross blood and creatures and things. It all looks interesting, but I do not know what is happening in this book. I'm sorry.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I liked it. Like, I like the images and ideas here, but it does feel like sort of a David Lynch and horror movie in a blender, where you're like, it's hard to grab onto exactly what's happening. But a lot of the stuff you're seeing, I'm interested in.
Yeah, I also wrote down that I'm not sure what's happening at all, but the art's crazy creepy and very cool style. I mean, heartbreaking, that dude who gets left at the altar and then what happens to him. So there's a lot of insanity going on, and I'm interested to see how these things are going to start to connect.
Zootopia, #1 from Dynamite, written by Jeff Parker, art by Alessandro Rinaldi. We had Jeff Parker on the show and talked to him about Zootopia, so you can check out that interview.
Boo.
This continues off of the first movie with Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde teaming up to solve a new mystery. You
don't have to watch the movie to read the comic, though. It's still just as great.
You're talking just to yourself. Everybody
maybe other people out there listening be like, well, can I pick this up if I haven't read or watched Zootopia? You can.
Everybody. Disney recently revealed in their earnings reports that everybody on planet Earth, except for one person, turns out it's you, has watched Zootopia.
Proud member.
Oh man, what a great to be such an outlier. Yeah. I mean, I like this. I like the movie Zootopia. I watch it sort of regularly with my kids. So I'm very much in this.
It's in the rotation.
It's in the rotation. And this is a nice extension of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Like I said on the show, I really appreciate the fact that it had a procedural structure. We got good time with both of the main characters. There's also a big overarching mystery, and Jeff really captured the feel of the characters very nicely. So if you are one of the 7 billion plus people who have seen and enjoyed the movie Zootopia, please do check out this comic book. Would be pretty great if they sold 7 billion plus copies. I think everybody would appreciate that.
Yeah, this is a blast, and I also appreciated the pizza T-shirt that was.
Pete, did reading this comic inspire you to do anything? Like after you finished it?
Well, maybe I'll check out the movie. You know what I mean?
Oh,
really? Well,
and there's a sequel coming.
Yeah, there's a sequel.
Well, I got to see the first one before the second one drops.
Well, I hope you try it. You got to try everything, Pete. Try everything. Try everything.
What? Yeah.
Is that an
Oh,
inside
man,
joke?
I wish I
to the
could
movie?
knock your nuts right now. Somehow reach
What
the
if?
internet.
What if Galactus transformed Knocknuts #1 from Marvel?
That's not the
by-
title.
Oh, transform Gambit. I mean,
There we go.
he's called Knocknuts. Hey there,
Yeah,
Knocknuts.
that's what the other X-Men call him.
From Marvel, written by Josh Trulio, art by Manuelo Garcia. Similar to the Hulk issue that we talked about last week, this is a what-if scenario for Gambit, but it finds him in a very specific time and place, which is right after the mutant massacre, kind of like before we knew him,
Too
right?
soon.
Yeah.
Too soon.
Which is interesting.
He was
I
new,
thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed this. I was criticizing the last one for not having a ton of story, and this one, very much has like a lot of specific choices. We pick Gambit from a very specific place. He has a mission that is much different than the normal "bring me planet to eat" of Galactus's herald tasks, and I thought that narrative I really responded to. It was cool. The sort of way it resolves is interesting. Gambit just like randomly makes out with a woman for sort of no reason, which I thought was like, why are you cheating on Rogue, a character?
Yeah,
you don't
not
really know?
cool, bro.
Yeah, but he doesn't know her yet, right?
Yeah, and it seems like he won't because he's an intergalactic like card guy or whatever.
Yeah. Pete, what did you think about this?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you guys are watching the animated show, but they did the Hulk. What if the Hulk was the Silver Surfer type of setup? So I was like, well, there's a lot of this going around. What if Gambit was now the Silver Surfer? But I thought this was cool and a good
dare
use
you
of
to ask
Gambit.
him what he's talking about. I dare you to ask him what he's talking about.
Nope, I don't want to know.
You don't
Nice.
want to know? Okay.
No, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Pete?
The What If cartoon on Disney.
Yes. No, I know that. But what episode does the Hulk turn into the Silver Surfer?
It's the first episode. It's What If Galactus Transformed the Hulk is the first episode of the new
The first
season.
issue? Nope. That was the first issue of this comic book.
Well, it's also the first episode of season 2 of What If.
No, it's not. You're thinking of season 3 with the Mech Avengers and the Hulk?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there's no Silver Surfer.
Well, the Hulk is the Herald of Galactus in that episode, bro.
No, he's not.
I just watched
I
it.
don't
Yes,
think so.
No. You're conflating the comic book and the episode of the TV show together.
Nope. I just
We
watched
finally did it. We broke his brain.
it. Yeah.
Reality
What if?
has been
What if?
bent. Yes, exactly. The Watcher's like, should I intervene in this moment?
But anyway, this
Pete's
was
finally losing it.
I think this was a nice use of Gambit and his abilities, and I thought it was a fun choice. And then super brave of him to turn into a flower at the end. I thought that was very romantic. I could see why Rogue likes this guy.
Again,
I
he
think
hasn't
was
met
playing
Rogue
a
yet,
flower.
and he does not turn into a flower.
He turns into a flower at the end of this.
No, he plants a flower. I think a space flower. I will say this issue had in the monorail episode of The Simpsons when
monorail.
the
Conan O'Brien,
the monorail guy. Is
What's that
walking
again?
out.
Monorail.
The monorail guy is walking out and he's saying, but someone's like, who's going to be in charge of the monorail? And he says, how about you? And Homer says, me. And he's like, sure. That's what it feels like when Galactus is like, I need someone's help. And Gambit's like, me? And he's like, yeah, why not? You do stuff. Because there's no reason for him to pick Gambit specifically.
No, there's really
He's
not.
a thief. They said they need his thieving abilities.
For sure. There are more of these coming. I don't know if I can talk about them because this made me feel crazy just listening to that whole Silver Surfer thing. But I like this just fine.
Wait, you mean
like this
Pete
better-
made you feel crazy?
Yeah, Pete made me feel crazy right now.
I feel like that Adam Sandler. You are all now dumber for listening to me. So I'm sorry.
Anyway, this was my favorite episode of X-Men 97 so far. Let's move on and talk about Batman Dark Patterns, #2 from DC Comics, written by Dan Waters,
Yes.
art by Hayden Sherman. This is back in the day, dark mystery involving Batman investigating a new villain called the Wound Man, who may
pin
not
pushing.
be a villain after all, as we find out over the course of this issue. Maybe just a more extreme version of Vigilante. There's a little bit of a conspiracy element going on here as well. great stuff.
Yeah, I agree. This is a blast. I love the art. Intense cover, you just see like the dude's eyeball. It's kind of a crazy image. Yeah, but I love all the twists and turns in this. This dude is creepy as fuck, and but he might have some compadres on his side here at the end there. So interesting twists and turns. What this dude's deal is. He kind of at first I just thought he was like an extreme version of Penance, but might be more to this dude. So really into the pain.
This comic feels like Batman meets True Detective in a good way. The season 1, that is. The art's really nice, very evocative. There's some nice little artistic flourishes.
What are you saying about the other seasons, though, bro? I mean,
I don't know. Has anyone thought that the other seasons after season 1 were different or lesser?
That's the first time I'm hearing it.
Interesting.
I like the last
I'm going to do a little research and see if there's any drop off in the second or third season of the TV.
I like the Alaska one. I thought that was fun.
Night Country?
Yes.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Night Country.
That's a whole different thing. Anyone who says my favorite season of True Detective is the second one, check them. Give them a good nut.
They're a narc.
See if they're real.
They're a narc.
But this is good.
Yeah. Next up, Geiger, number 10, from Ghost Machine and Image Comics, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. Junkyard Joe arrives and mixes it up with Geiger. He's really losing it in this issue, going hog wild on his friends. Justin, you've liked Geiger more and more every issue lately. Is it still on an upswing?
Justin, you go hog wild.
Yeah, I go hog wild for Geig. I do think this is continuing to be good. I don't know where we're going with it, but it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is. I like the last page reveal.
Really? Do you know who that character is?
It seems like a female Geiger.
Oh, I didn't
know.
get
Is
that
it?
at all.
They reveal her name in the title for the next issue. She's like Astrid or Asha or something like that.
Yeah. I saw that as well, but it seems like she's got the two sticks, so I just thought she was a female Geiger.
Her name is Ash Arden, and she does have similar sticks, but she feels less radioactive than Geiger.
Well, we'll see. Time will tell. But also, what's driving me nuts is the Joe robot guy, and then the Commandos cartoon with the also similar looking.
That's the same character, G.I. Robot and Junkyard Joe. This is also a episode of a cartoon.
Yeah,
Are you trying to make him crazy? He's proven he's
I'm
crazy.
trying.
Alex.
I'm trying to break.
Don't push him any further.
Is it the same character?
No, it's a different character.
I was going to say, because legally this is Image and that's DC. I don't think it's
Jeff Johns is going to get fucking sued.
Alex, if we make Pete crazy, we all have to move in together to take care of each other.
Oh my God. Okay.
So just be careful.
Yeah. We're all going to take care of
his tree morgue that he lives in.
Just store me in a long box, please. That's all I'd ask. Not a short box.
Oh, man, a coffin is just a long box that we live in for the rest of our time.
My madness aside, this is enjoyable.
Bones are just comics that are inside of our bodies.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's deep, man. Wait till we get to Wolverine where we talk about bones.
Bones. I don't know. Welcome to the main art, number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Robinson, art by Jay Bone. There we go. I wasn't saying something out of nowhere. This takes place in a magical hotel. We're following the bellhop, who is also in training as the hotel detective, finding out more about her and her relationship to the current hotel detective, as well as the mystery of this strange teleporter who is stealing things from the hotel. I think we all enjoyed the first issue of this, and you can listen to our interview with James Robinson and James Bone on the live show that we did probably about a month back or so. How do you think this held up in issue 2?
I'm having a blast with this. I think this is a ton of fun. I really love how interesting this kind of story keeps getting, the more we know about the characters. The depth of the stuff is really cool and intriguing. Also, yeah, like I just feel like we need to put portals on rooftops so people don't get hurt. You know what I mean? It's just smart.
100%. Justin, what about you?
I agree. I am enjoying this. I think when we talked to the guys on the show, their enthusiasm was very palpable. And I think you see that in the book. I think they're very excited to be making this as it continues to get deeper and deeper into the world. And J-Bone's art really does a lot to establish like the tone, sort of a retro yet magical, current magical tone that they're hitting here.
It's a fun balance.
Definitely. Next up, All New Venom #2 for Marvel, written by Al Ewing, art by Carlos Gomez. In this issue, we've got this series, we've got a mystery about the identity of the All New Venom. Is it Madam Mask, Robbie Robertson, Rick Jones, or Luke Cage? And Dylan Brock is trying to find it out exactly what's going on. First issue was a blast. I thought this one was a blast as well. Al Ewing is having so much fun here, teasing out this ridiculous mystery. Even he, I think, knows, like, you can't keep this going forever. And so he's just having as much fun with the characters as he possibly can. Plus, man, the Comedy Central roast of Paul, I am here for it. Oh, my God. Just nonstop. Rip it into Paul, Mary Jane's boyfriend, husband, whatever he is. I don't know.
Take that, Paul.
Last issue, we got him called Top Knot. This issue, he's crying over his couscous. Great stuff.
I mean, the young Brock boy is like living with Mary Jane and Paul, and he like is such a jerk. Like, he's nasty. And Paul comes up and is like, "Hey man, you got to be nicer." And the kid's like, "Fuck you, Paul." I was like, yo, everyone hates Paul.
Well, doesn't he say something like, I'm paraphrasing the line, but he's like, that's pretty rich coming from somebody who didn't know his own kids were imaginary.
Yes, it's way too harsh.
Way over the line, but I laughed so hard.
Yeah, man, that's
also
this is the crazy one.
This is a fun cover. As well. It sets a really fun tone for this book. I'm having a blast with this, and until the comic specifically reveals that it's not Luke Cage, I'm going to think it's Luke Cage.
You know what the last line
in the comic is
this issue is.
Well, yeah, but it hasn't been unmasked or revealed yet, so I can still believe, it's Luke Cage, because the color coordination is a little too on point for it not to be.
I mean,
Luke Cage.
now I feel like if Pete's right, I'm going to feel extra stupid. But I don't know. I had pitched Mary Jane, but this issue made me think it's not her. I don't know who else. Pete sticking with Luke Cage. Alex, do you have a guess?
I thought it was Luke Cage up until the last page, which may be a misdirect. They're definitely, I think, teasing that it's Madam Mask because she's the one that's off screen the entire time, and they're spending so much time with the three other dudes, but I guess we'll see.
I just feel like, is that a fun reveal?
I don't know.
Like, really. I don't think it is. Like, my thoughts went to, like, is it Peter Parker? Is it like someone, because there's a lot of quippiness here. It feels like a lighter, more fun character to be revealed here. But also the fact that the dude shoots through his head and there's no head there. I was like, wait, what is this?
Yeah, but he can also like.
Well, Luke Cage famously has a head. That's how Dylan knows that it's not Luke Cage, and it needs to be one of the headless characters, or perhaps one of Marvel's many bald characters.
Or it could
maybe
just
New
be
Venom is one of the avians
because he's a
fourth
symbiote.
Or the fifth avian?
Because he's a symbiote, maybe he's just being taller than the actual person underneath. So if you shoot through the head, and it's
Spider-Boy. It's Spider-Boy.
Ooh.
We're going to find out soon enough. Let's talk about Jim Henson Presents, #1 from Boom Studios, written by Shannon Waters, Shannon McGuire, Jill 2, art by Max Sarin, Carola Borelli, and Countandra. This is a collection of 3 stories in the worlds of Jim Henson. Specifically, we're getting some Fraggles, we're getting some Farscape, and we're getting some Dark Crystal. Justin.
If you're a fan of Fraggle Rock, Farscape, and the Dark Crystal, what the fuck is your life? Because this comic, the total change from like a very light, fun Fraggle Rock focusing on a character named Boober who makes a weird pie. I was like, oh, that's fun. And then a Farscape story about like getting fucked up in space or whatever. I was like, what? Who is meant to read all 3 of these stories? I would argue absolutely no one. I enjoyed.
You don't think there's one person who covers all 3 bases?
No, I don't think so. I've never seen Farscape. Grew up watching Fraggle Rock, and I love the Dark Crystal, but they should be 3 separate situations.
Wow. Interesting.
Pete, what about you?
Well, first off, that's a creepy ass cover, man. You know what I mean? I love the Fraggle Rock portion of this, and then I was hoping for like maybe like a Pigs in Space or something, but it got really fucking weird with that fucking shit. And Dark Crystal.
You were hoping for Pigs in Space?
Well,
See, that's
Fraggle Rocks, that's a fun tone, and then they're like, okay, we're going to do a space thing next, and I'm like, all right, well, hopefully it'll be like Pigs in Space or something.
Well, Farscape's a long, much-loved ongoing television series.
Yeah, sure. Agreed. But what we got was really fun. But man, and then the Dark Crystal, I'm out on Dark Crystal because that shit gives me nightmares to begin with. That shit's
I thought
creepy.
The Dark Crystal stuff was beautifully drawn. I thought the art was really good in that. I hear you, Justin, but I disagree. I think there are people who are Henson fans who just love puppets and all the puppet stuff, and they watch all of that stuff.
No. Sure, there's Henson
Farscape
heads.
and Fraggle Rock. I don't think so.
Absolutely. I've watched all 3 of them.
Sure, but that doesn't mean you want to have all 3 of them in the same comic.
No, I don't like Farscape. I don't want that anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. This comic is like Neapolitan ice cream, where you're like, well, I guess I'll eat strawberry now. There's nothing left.
How dare you? I love the strawberry part of Neapolitan.
I did think it was, for not liking Farscape, I thought it was a well-structured Farscape story, just to be kind to it, and the Fraggle Rock one was goofy.
Yeah, and like, I'm not saying these stories are bad. I was just like, the idea of them being smashed together in this book is insane.
Yes. Batman and Robin, another crazy duo. Number
how
17.
do these guys ever get together?
I don't know. One of them's tall, one of them's short. What's going on here? You got to shoot for their heads. From DC Comics, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Javi Fernandez and Carmine Di Giandomenico. Batman is fighting a new enemy called Memento, who watched the Christopher Nolan movie a couple too many times and went crazy.
That's a problem with Nolan heads, bro.
Totally. My villain name is gonna be Tenet. What are you guys going for?
Oh,
nice. I'm gonna go with the 5th act of Dark Knight.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that's fun. I love this book.
The fairy choice, right? When they have to choose between the fairies.
The fairy
we're doing
choice.
this again? All right.
Yeah, let's stick with the fairy. Because everyone's like, every New Yorker, Pete, you wouldn't understand, is like, yes, choose between 2 Staten Island fairies. Let them both sink, I say.
Yeah, that's right.
Blow them both up.
Badass cover. Great art style. Just really cool the way it started. Very bright, very different from what I expect when I'm reading kind of a Batman book. So I like that. Yeah, you got the classic Batman being a dick to his family and coworkers, but great art and action. I really enjoyed this.
I like this too. PKJ does some just great writing anytime he's on the book. So I like this. I'm curious. We're setting up a supernatural character here, but I have to think that at the end of the day, it won't be supernatural. So looking forward to the reveal. There's this character of the other detective who's palling around with Commissioner Gordon, and something's happening with her. I gotta think.
Yeah. One thing that I'll just add on to what you guys are saying, I think PKJ writes a really good Damien in particular. There's some nice textural layers to his emotion throughout the book. What's the Furthest Place from Here? Number 21 from Image Comics by Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg. Big issue as we seem to loop back to the beginning, the place that our former teams left from, but not quite. It's actually a different place, and it changes the series in a big way.
Yeah, a lot goes down in this. I love the art so much of this. Also, you got kind of a fun moment in all this kind of fucking crazy madness where the vinyls, you get like a fun kind of Duke Ellington, John Coltrane cover. And there was one vinyl that just said big black songs about fucking. That was very funny. I thought that was hilarious. But all the stuff that goes down in this issue is completely insane and really messed up. But very creative and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this series feels like they really are. A lot of writers and artists talk about, like, we were really, like, figuring it out as we went along. And I often don't quite buy it, but this series feels like it is something that is just so alive creatively as it's evolved. And every issue feels like a push to, like, how can we take this in a new direction? And this issue certainly backs that up.
The Amazing Spider-Man, number 65 from Marvel, written by Joe Kelly, art by Kafu. We're continuing the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man storyline that has found him fighting the Scions of Sidorak for the fate of the world. And in this issue, instead of a physical challenge, he's getting a mental challenge.
Like Double Dare.
Like Double Dare, where he is asked to hold the ball, and if he drops the ball, he loses. But while he's holding the ball, he has to live through the death of every single person he's ever met and many that he never has. What'd you guys think about this one?
Fantastic issue. And I want to highlight the only part that matters is the very last page where we get a preview of the next 2 issues. And the cover of number 66
as soon as I saw that, I was like, fucking Justin.
Spidey and Black Cat just going to Tungtown. And I'll tell you what, I'm punched my ticket because I'm on the fast train to Tungtown right alongside him.
Okay, Justin, you said this was a great issue. What did you like about it?
I just described it.
You just like the preview for the next issue? That's what your favorite part of this?
I did. Okay. Black Cat's just lapping up that Parker mouth. Yum, yum. Let's all have a snack.
I really like the emotional intensity of this issue, and I thought it was very smartly done. But because Joe Kelly is a smart writer, it sort of works against the dramatic push of it in a certain way. What I mean by that, to get into spoilers, is they hit you right off the bat with the biggest gut punch, which is Aunt May dying of what they call the Essex virus, but it's clearly very directly people who died in hospitals alone because of COVID, and Peter is watching that. It's hard to watch. And you're like, oh man, if this is where we're starting, how is he going to get through this? But, and I think this was a smart decision, but Joe Kelly has Spider-Man say, I have been through so much loss. You think this is going to break me? Not even close, buddy. And then they're like, oh yeah, watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this. Until ultimately, and again, I'm getting through spoilers here, but ultimately the thing that breaks Spider-Man is the ultimate futility of being alive, because over the grand scale of the span of the universe, nothing we do really matters. We know ultimately that Spider-Man is going to get to a place where he's like, no, then what actually matters is what we do right now, and that's fine, we'll get there. But the thing is that hitting us with the biggest gut punch right off the bat, and then Spider-Man being like, whatever, man, hit me with your best shot, all of this sloughs right off of me, that takes away the emotional hit of the issue for me.
That's interesting, because I didn't think that. I feel like Peter Parker has dealt with all this stuff, like the individual like pain and deaths of people close to him. Like that's his defining thing with Gwen Stacy. Like there's so many, his Uncle Ben, like his parents, like all these things are the like closeness and the loss. But I think the thing that does break him is the like endlessness and the futility of life that he hasn't ever thought about. Because Peter Parker only thinks about what's right in front of him. That's his whole thing. Like, oh, I'm late for this. Oh, I should do this instead of that. When, like, to take the super wide point of view and be like, hey, at the end of the day, like, why are you so worried about saving one life when everyone dies? That shatters his, like, guiding core principle of why he is who he is and who he is as a hero. So I thought it actually worked in this order in that way.
I just think that, like, first off, I love Joe Kelly as a writer, but it seems like you didn't watch a Spider-Man movie because he can climb walls. So, like, giving him a ball to put in his hand, like, he could just, that thing is not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, what are you even doing? Like, of course he's not going to drop that ball. You know what I mean? Like, this guy has got, very grippy extremities. So I just felt like this was an easy battle, like throw whatever you wanted him.
Well, there's a lot of emotional pain that comes from gripping the ball, I think is maybe.
Well, it also makes, sometimes pain makes people grip things tighter. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. It lost me a little bit on the ball aspect, like gripping balls.
What would you do? What would you do if you're trying to break Spider-Man, Pete?
I would, focus on trying to break him physically and mentally and not be like, if you hang out of this ball, then you get to survive this, so I don't know. But, I just thought this was a weird premise. And then the preview for the next issue made me think, well, it looks like maybe I'm taking another break from Spider-Man for a little while. So I don't know. We'll see.
No. He's deciding if nothing matters in life, he might as well make out with the Black Cat.
No, how you feel about that, JT says?
Bro. Well, I just asked her one last thing on this. How did you feel about the order of characters that matter to Peter? We have May, Mary Jane, J. Jonah Jameson.
Yep.
Then
seems like
Shay.
It keeps going the opposite way. It seems like we're getting farther away from.
And then we got Robbie Robertson.
What did you think about the reveal that Shay has a last name? I thought that was a pretty cool character trait. I
really wanted Peter to be like, Shay, oh no.
Don't tell me.
Oh no, Shay, my closest love, has passed. And then we get Black Cat, and then we get Elizabeth Brandt Leeds, Betty Brandt. I was like, oh, interesting.
And she seems to die of old age.
Yes. So I was like, pretty good life. When you think about
pretty
it.
sweet life.
Then Norman Osborn. And then Miles Morales.
Also,
that one
why
was
that
rough.
why
that
was
rough.
that broke him?
I had a hard time with that.
No. I love watching kids die, so I guess we're just, like, different, Pete.
Yeah.
I'm glad you live in New York City, then.
How did you feel about the use of Coulson as the Grim Reaper, which is canon in the Marvel Universe, but I was like, I found it distracting.
I also found it distracting.
I thought it was nice.
I was like, could you just talk to him?
Great use of throw Coulson around more. I like that guy.
I don't know. It's weird that the Grim Reaper's like a businessman in a suit who's like, hey, man, what's up?
Dude, he's clocking into work like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Reaper's
That's
just doing his job.
I want Death to be like punching a clock and being like, oh shit, I gotta get to lunch later, kill.
I would like Death to be like, hey, listen, nothing personal. This is just my job. I don't really want you to die. I would have to take comfort in that.
For sure. It's like that song, Don't Make Plans After Work with the Reaper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Famous,
great song.
Beautiful song.
Speaking of a living hell.
Speaking of a Living Hell number 2 from Dark Horse Comics by Caitlin Yarsky. We are following a character who's been forced back into working for Hell, sending demons back down under. And doesn't really want to do that job, but he's got to do it anyway. I love this book. We talked about it with the first issue, but Caitlin Yarsky's designs are just so great across the board. The monsters are so good. The demons are so good. The fights are dynamic, and there's real emotion in here as well. There's some great danger that's building up for our main character and some good reveals. Really like this issue.
Same. I really like our put upon hero, and the art is really fun.
Yeah, I agree. This is a blast. Fun cover. This continues to be super cool. I love the whole Hellmouth thing. That was crazy. Dude's like a demon buster. This is a cool premise. I'm looking forward to more of this. Yeah, great art, great story. More, please.
Altered States Purgatory Grindhouse #1 from Dynamite, written by Ray Foxe, art by Alvaro Saracasa. This is kind of a multiverse thing on various Dynamite characters. Here we're focusing on the character who I believe is named Purgatory, who is a demon lady. And instead we're getting a beach party slasher type situation that goes horribly wrong. Not knowing anything about Purgatory, I don't know how much of a what-if style riff this was on there, but as a demonic beach slasher story, I thought it was pretty fun.
I thought you were going to say as a demonic pro, someone has a lot of knowledge of the demon world. I thought this was very accurate. I thought this was...
This was a documentary, right?
Yeah, this was fun. It took some real turns. It's just too bad people can't enjoy a beach anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep. This is what it's like to go to the beach anywhere.
God, I hope not.
I really like this. I thought this was a great, slasher style horror comic that I didn't expect that at all, and I found this to be such a nice read in that world.
I also like the way she was kind of fighting the transformation a little bit, where she's like, why am I laughing? I don't want to be enjoying this. I liked how it wasn't just like, oh, I'm a demon now, so I'm just going to laugh and get into it. So I thought that was cool.
Sentinels #4 from Marvel, written by Alex Packnadal, art by Justin Mason. The Sentinels are finding out that not everything is what it seems in Greymalkin Prison, and some of them are going through some terrifying transformations. We also find out the terrifying secret of where the Sentinels got their powers, and I thought, without spoiling it, it was a great twist.
Agree. I thought this was... There was a mention of the twist earlier in the comic. I was like, oh, yeah. But I thought that was all we're going to get. And then when we landed, I was really impressed with how it all sort of came together. And now this is becoming a bit of like the robot transformation in Superman 3. Where that lady got sucked into the computer and it scarred all of us forever. That's what we're getting here. And that's also a pleasant surprise.
I was having a hard time with this because I was like, yo, Sentinels are evil. We all know this. Why do I
That's what the comic is saying, too. That's what they're struggling with.
Well, yeah, but I don't care about their lives or their individual thoughts and ideas. So
but they're human.
I had a hard time with that. I didn't buy it
this
at all.
This comic really missed you as an idea.
Yeah.
Black Lightning #3. This is another title that is going to be in stores on January 15th, so no spoilers. From DC Comics, written by Brandon Thomas, art by Fico Ossio. We've got Steel and the Gang taking on some baddies in Metropolis. Like I said earlier, Fico Ossio just really knows how to draw action.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of badass pages in this. This is a blast. And the classic thing, I don't care if you're a superhero or not, you don't tell somebody how to raise their kids. That's going to trigger them and they're going to just lose their minds. You try to say to somebody something about their kids. That's a big no-no. So, people in the superhero world are finding that out the hard way.
Pete dropping some great life lessons here. Also enjoyed this book. I didn't expect this to be such a family book, and that's really what it is. Like Black Lightning drops in sort of late in the book to come in and wreck some shit, but like it
great
feels
entrance.
Like really it's about him and his family getting their house in order, and that's nice.
Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac #3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Kyle Starks, art by Piotr Kowalski. As I mentioned earlier, this is about a community of movie-style slashers. We have a maniac cop who has infiltrated them and is turning the tables. Another great, funny, gross, violent issue of this book. Really, really good sequel. Bigger, better, nastier.
Agree. I enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to the introduction of the Tree Slayer, Pete LePage.
A creepy cover. This is getting a lot more fun. The good guy's starting to win a little bit, which is Always exciting, but that makes me nervous. But yeah, this is an insane story, amazing art. This is fucked up in all the right ways. You got to check it out.
NYX, number 7 from Marvel, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, art by Enid Balam. In this issue, we got a new club that has opened up in New York. It's for mutants only, baby. And who's showing up? Sync versus Prodigy.
Sync.
Per the title page, the cover page, it's a battle to the death. Only one of them is going to come out alive. Yeah, there you go.
Spoilers, that's not how it goes down.
Yeah.
This
Sync,
cover lies.
Sync, a character that was created back in Generation X. Is that accurate?
I think
back
so.
in the day. Really like this character, especially the stuff that happened at the end of Krakoa between him and Laura, Wolverine. Like
X-23?
X-23, there's a little bit of a tease that we're going to get some of that. So seeing him, I really like him as a character. I like the way this is unfolding. I look forward to seeing him and Laura, and that doesn't happen in this issue, but I think will in the future.
Yeah, this is enjoyable. 2 fights at once, cool. Great art and action, and I really enjoyed the Kamala stuff. That was cool.
I just want to say one other thing. I think this book has really gotten so much better over the course of the run and has really landed on a really nice identity in the new X-Men universe. One of my favorites on the pile here.
Green Hornet, Miss Fury, number 1 from Dynamite, written by Alex Segura and Henry Barajas, art by Federico Ceresa. We are taking 2 vintage characters and mixing them up for a new pulp-inspired mystery. What did you think about this title, boys?
Well, classic kind of good time here. We get a little old school heroing. Great to see Kato. Great art, fun dialogue. Story was enjoyable.
Man, Kato really is down on Green Hornet in general in this. He's like a
Very mean.
really shitty Alfred.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how watch your goddamn mouth, bro.
Well, I'm just saying Alfred's better from a Butler standpoint.
Well, yeah, but I'm not here for the Kato slander, bro. That was
hold on.
Bruce Lee.
Could you rank all the butlers really quickly? Like, what order are they in between?
Kato's no butler, motherfucker.
Kato, Alfred, and Foggy. Like the 3 butlers. Just
oh my god. You only named one butler.
This book is really, I feel like I can't tell how much of this, it references other continuity, and I'm like, is that real? Are these other issues? Because it also feels like this is like just dropping us in on a world that it could be Batman, but is just slightly different. And the characterizations of Green Hornet is different in a fun way, where he actually is more of a goofy playboy than the world's greatest detective, and I think that's a fun choice. Miss Fury being the Catwoman also feels different in an interesting way. So this feels a lot like alternate universe, smartly done Batman and Catwoman.
DC versus Vampires World War V, number 6 from DC Comics, written by Matthew Rosenberg and Joey Esposito, art by Otto Schmidt and Pasquale Qualano. In the front story, we're continuing and amping up the actual World War of the title with some little swerves from the DC universe getting in the way. And the backup story is giving us another look of this world through Animal Man and his family in a very dark and very sad story.
Yeah, but the first story is a blast. Just kind of really badass. The dark side moment was so insane and so well built up. I really thought that was just such a cool, badass moment, and such a hilarious wrong choice gone even wronger. It was just, I really appreciated the writing and the kind of build to that.
Yeah, this world just keeps getting better, and the way that they took something, I wouldn't call it a criticism, but earlier on in this series, I was talking about how disparate everything felt and sort of complicated, and the team has really found a way to just bring it all together in a smart and sophisticated way, and then the backup is scary, terrifying, much more like small focus story. Great combination.
Wolverine #5 from Marvel, written by Saladin Ahmed, art by Martin Coquelot. Wolverine is under attack by a new metal called adamantine. Not adamantium, but adamantine, or at least
adamantine. Yes.
Adamantine.
Don't forget to drink your Ovaltine.
No, I think it's a teenage metal. That's
Ooh.
Teenage metal.
Yeah, badass.
This is fun at times. The Wendigo, spoilers, but Wendigo saving Wolverine was super sweet. And then the elf being like, you have a pet, a Wendigo? I thought that was fun. Great art and action, but I'm just not feeling this whole bones thing a little bit. So I'm a little nervous about that. But so far, I'm still having fun.
I just think this has taken a long time to get here. Like, I think we all know that, like, the adamantium's up, there's like a presence in it, and like we get it. And so like each issue is sort of like Wolverine's like, something's up with my bones. And I'm like, yes, we know. And he's like, imagine that, I just encountered another adamantium based villain. I'm like, yes, put it together. He's not the world's greatest detective, but he's he pays attention, maybe. So, like, I think we can just move to it. I thought the last page, though, was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I make this the first page of the first issue, and then let's move forward, I say.
The Serpent to the Garden, Ed Gray, The Last Battle for England, #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Mike Mignola, art by Ben Stenbeck. In this issue, we are getting Ed Gray, who is now a tree man. Pete, you have to appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, man.
And
who's going to represent the trees?
A pig who has become a large orc are battling for the fate of England.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, this this pig and what he's going through here. I miss Hellboy a lot, and if this is all I get, I'll take it, my cake, and say thank you. But I just, man, I'm really hoping we're leading back into Hellboy.
What is this situation that you're referring to?
Well,
where does this saying come from? Like, where do you take your cake and say thank you?
I'll take my cake and say thank you. I'm not going to be mad at this because it's an amazing team on this, and this is a very cool artistic story.
I get what the metaphor means. I'm trying to think about like the actual situation where
I made it up, man.
Your Honor,
take
I guess
your cake and eat it too. I don't know. It's a saying. I just meant this is a long way to go, and I gotta live with this sad pig until I get Hellboy. So I'll do it. But I'm not excited about it, but I'm hoping eventually we'll get back to
all right, it's a very specific situation, but I get the situation. I get it now.
Your Honor, I guess when I first noticed that Pete was losing it was when he kept saying, I'll take my cake and say thank you. And how mad he was at the pig man. He hated the pig man, but he wanted his cake. He wanted his cake from the pig man, Your Honor. Oh, I'm crazy too? He made me crazy. Pete made me crazy. Okay. Well, off to Arkham. That's not real? All right. I mean, in the eternal battle between a salad tree man and a giant pork chop, I'm going to go with the pork chop.
Oh, come on, man.
Art is really beautiful in this. Ben Stenbeck does a great job. It's awesome and
good.
Dreamy.
It's very good.
Yeah, and I like the pig man. But I think to Pete's point, the thing that this is missing is Hellboy standing in the corner being like, what the fuck? Well,
yeah.
I'll punch these guys until they leave. Like, that's what this world needs. It needs that element of the regular guy who's like, huh? Most of the time. Otherwise, it just
classic regular guy, Hellboy. Very regular man. A devil man with a stone hand.
Excuse me. Archaic #2 from Ahoy Comics, written by Melissa F. Olson,
Ahoy!
art by Sally Cantorino. We are following a family who has inherited an island filled with weird creatures, which is the thing that they actually find out in this issue, as well as why kind of they have been tasked with this, and some enemies get thrown their way. Love the creativity going on in this book. Very fun, great designs, interesting characters, great setup. Good book.
It feels like a Wes Anderson fantasy story in a nice way. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, this is fun. I love the characters. Fun art style. Adds to the magical element of this. This is a cool story. Very creative. And I just realizing Sally Cantorino, it's a fun name to say.
Cantorino. That's what I like to say in my head. Survival Street, The Radical Left, #4 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Asmus and Jim Festante, art by Abele Kusanov. This was the final issue of this title, and we end up with a totally new status quo by the end for our characters. I was very surprised, pleasantly, how settled everything seems. I think they tied this one up very nicely.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, this is just good times. I love this comic. Love the art style, all the messed up action, and the dude getting shot and the kind of rainbow effects was really hilarious. Really nice ending, well landed. More please. This is a great team. This is super creative. It's nice to have comics that are saying things and pushing on the envelope and all that kind of stuff. So, hells to the yeah.
Yeah, they came back for this second series, so hopefully they'll come back for more yet. There's definitely more for them to satire.
And that is it for the stack. If you'd like to support our show and all the shows we do, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m.
Sure
Facebook
do.
and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comics, Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show. Comic Book Club on Blue Sky, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok, Threads, and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Yeah, send me cake. I'll say thanks.
He's doubling down. He's doubling down.